Sarah, this is Abby, and welcome to Azul Unlimited. I'm a scuba instructor, and I lived in my van for a little over 3 years after living abroad as a dive shop owner. Now I'm living in an old sailboat with the hopes of sailing and diving around the Pacific Northwest and beyond. On this channel, you'll get scuba lessons, dive site explorations, and sailing adventures. Join the community here on YouTube or come diving with me around the world on one of my expeditions. What do you think, Abby? Should we thank our sponsor, Dan? No matter if you're solo or group traveling, one thing is hugely helpful, and that is travel insurance. We're here to say thank you to Divers Alert Network for sponsoring this video, and Dan offers specialized travel insurance for divers. Their insurance covers everything from diving-related injuries to unexpected travel interruptions. With Dan, you can dive with confidence knowing that you're covered. Check out their insurance options with the link in the description below. Okay, I'm sitting on the floor. I just finished recording a yoga class for my Patreon supporters. And today we're going to talk about travel, because travel is so much fun and you can do it on just about any budget. Part of the reason I started offering diving expeditions with Azul Unlimited is because people were asking me for them. I've done extensive solo trips over my 15 plus years of travel. And my opinion is either option can be great for your next vacation. It just depends on what you want. The three main considerations are your goals, availability, and budget. Where do you want to go? When do you want to go? And how much money can you spend within those parameters? All right, let's start with those independent and sometimes budget divers out there. Solo travel. Traveling alone or with a friend / partner without like a set itinerary with a group can be a wonderful experience. You can feel empowered because you get to plan your own activities and adjust it on the fly. It opens up opportunities to go places and to see things that maybe you didn't consider when you thought about visiting. And that happens because as you travel, you meet people, you get recommendations or invitations to things. I mean, like literally the world's your oyster at that point, if you're open to it. Solo travel also pushes you outside of your comfort zone. It really teaches you about resourcefulness, patience, and finding ease, even in like really complex, complicated, stressful situations. But solo travel is not for everyone. It can be lonely, especially if you're visiting remote places or you have a hard time connecting with strangers. Safety is also a big consideration. As a tourist, you can be a big target for theft and attacks, especially as a woman. For me, a huge safety resource is my gut. Your intuition when judging people and their character is your first line of defense. And it's super important to listen and to take action when something feels off. I mention this because while it's essential to keep your wits about you when you travel, I do not subscribe to the mentality of fear. By honing my skills of understanding my gut feeling with people, I've kept myself safe, and I haven't done it in a way that has kept me away from people. For example, a lot of people will say, never tell someone that you're traveling alone, especially as a woman. I will say that for myself, and this is not like, I'm just sharing what I do, I don't always follow that rule. Sometimes I say that, I'm meeting up with my partner in the next town, or they're waiting for me at the hotel, or whatever. But other times I do say that I'm traveling alone. And I have found the most incredible connections and generosity, especially from locals, because they want you to have a good experience in their country. Again, this is your own judgment call. Don't be coming up in the comments telling me how I'm gonna get kidnapped and everything. I understand you, I hear you, I know you want me to be safe, and everybody's gonna have to make that judgment call for themselves. Then, as for diving as a solo traveler, one of the cons that you have to deal with is being paired up with random people on dive boats. Sometimes it goes great and you make a lifelong dive buddy and friend. Other times it feels like you may as well have been solo diving. I've made a video about diving with strangers, so I will leave that linked in the description below. Finally, let's talk about budget. Solo traveling allows you to make an itinerary that fits within your budget, and that's really the only reason why I've been able to travel as much as I have. I've backpacked all over the place and experienced things on a shoestring budget. I have gone shore diving in places where I didn't have the money to get onto a boat. You make it work when you're traveling alone. Booking hostels or cheap accommodations with kitchens and relying on public transportation will help reduce your costs, saving you more money for diving. However, if you're interested in a more comfortable lifestyle, accommodation and transportation can really add up if you don't have someone to share the cost with. Now let's talk about how I plan my trips, because that's the most intimidating part of all of this for people who haven't done it before. When I go on longer trips, I prefer to have a loose itinerary. I like to decide where I want to go and kind of the key points and places that I want to visit. I'll research dive shops and reach out to the ones that seem to care about the environment, and that sort of whittles down my options there. And then I use budget flight search engines to find out which airlines go to the place where I want to visit. And then I book the actual flight through the legit airline website. And that's because of the nonsense of like third-party stuff. You just have better protection in that way, and you can speak more directly with the airline. Then I like to have accommodation booked for at least the first place. Like when I arrive, especially if I'm going somewhere far and I'm jet lagged, I want to have somewhere to land. After that, I'll book the rest of my trip while I'm in the location. Now, if I'm in a place for less than 10 days, I'll have a more set itinerary. And that's mostly just because I don't want to spend the very precious amount of time that I have there researching what I'm doing. So if all of that sounds like a hassle or stresses you out, group travel might be the way to go, at least until you have some more experience as a traveler and as a diver. If you're a brand new diver, it can be really hard to figure out where to go, who to book with, like what to bring. You know, sometimes group travel is just the right next step. And that's because traveling with a group, a dive group, brings you built-in buddies. You have support throughout the trip, which makes logistics and planning easier. Arrangements for the trip fall on the group leader, so you can focus on enjoying without getting bogged down by all the back of house complications. Plus, like I said, if you're a newer diver or you want to experience more challenging dive sites, traveling with a group gives you that extra support because you're diving with the same group of people day in and day out. You get to know each other. Also, depending on the trip leader or group you choose, you may have access to dive masters and instructors who can help you develop as a diver along the way. And let's not forget about the social aspect. Diving with a group day in and day out is a lot of fun. You're usually surrounded by like-minded divers sharing stories and meals together. It's an instant community and it makes the trip more memorable. Of course, there are some downsides. Traveling with a group also means you're committed to that group. So maybe there are some people on the trip that you don't particularly love. But the nice thing about diving is you usually can find common ground in the experience of diving. Joining a group trip automatically means sacrificing a little bit of flexibility. There's usually a set itinerary and schedule, so you have to go along with the group. Now, you may be able to adjust the itinerary a little bit, sit out some of the dives or excursions, add different things in, but it really depends on where you are. If you're on a liveaboard, there's less flexibility there. And now we get back to budget. Group travel exists in extremes. You can find great deals on group travel, especially if your schedule is flexible. There are always last-minute cancellations on trips. So if you can just jump on something that becomes available last minute, you can usually get a steep discount. On the flip side, group travel can be a lot more expensive than booking it on your own because you are paying for the knowledge of the trip leader to put this together, to organize it, and make sure that it goes smoothly. It's a service that you're paying for. If you're interested in group travel, but you're not sure where to start, check out people you follow. Like me, I have trips going on throughout the year, and lots of people that have YouTube channels, dive shops, a lot of them run trips. Another way is to search for dive groups specific to your interest or demographics. If you're really interested in conservation, you can find fundraiser trips. If you want to dive with other women, if you want to be with photographers, like there are groups for everything. And I want to open up this comment section for all of us to share our favorite dive leaders and dive shops that run trips. If you've ever gone on a group trip and you've really enjoyed the experience, leave the name and even the website in the comments below, and it can be a little resource for all of us to check out. All right, so what's the verdict? What's your preferred method of traveling? Whichever you choose, just remember, it's your trip. Make it your own. Enjoy yourself. You deserve it. That's it. That's the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more from the Azul Unlimited community, you can join Patreon or check out one of my dive trips. I'd love to see you out there. Okay, love you. Bye. Look at this sweet girl. Hi, sweetheart. Oy, la barriga.